So, welcome to today's podcast. We are dive deep into a topic that's crucial for anyone in the world of cloud security. That's advanced cloud security governance. Once again, we are back with our podcast in cloud security. I'm your host Anas, and I'm thrilled to join Krish, an expert enterprise cloud security. You are very well aware of Krish. Welcome, Krish, in today's webinar.
Hey Anas, yeah, team, happy to be
Thank you.
back in this kind of discussions again.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay, that's wonderful,
done.
Krish. Having you here. Absolutely. I mean, Krish, we are here to shed light on latest trends, challenges, okay, the actionable insights business looking to fortify their cloud environment. Okay. But before we dive into the exact discussion, let's have a stay set for the listeners because we will be discussing about today the need of advanced cloud security governance, why it is required, what are the key components required for somebody to looking for advanced cloud security governance. Apart from that, the key components in advanced cloud security governance really required somebody to looking for future implementations. What are the new cutting edge technologies and the trends in cloud securities we are actually having in upcoming days, and which is going to impact very well the upcoming markets and trends. Also, which is very much important when we are learning something, it's the human element, the training and the governance culture, how it really helps people to look out. Along with that, the most easiest way to understand anything is having a real world case studies or actionable insights, because that's how we get to know why it is important to learn how to do something new. So these are the key insights we are going to learn and discuss in today's discussion with Krish in podcast. So, Krish, over to you. The first thing I wanted to ask, let's begin by defining advanced cloud security governance means today. What makes it different from the basic cloud security practices we were having in past days?
Okay, actually, that's an interesting question. So, first of all, what we have to understand is that when talking about the word called as a governance is not something which we are talking about, like cloud security governance and enterprise governance is not something different. So, what we're doing is that when you basically go to a term called as cloud security, we are trying to basically involve or we are trying to engage our existing governance, the governance risk
Okay.
and compliance process, to be adding this cloud element as well. That's the first thing.
Okay.
And when you say cloud security, that is just a part of it. So basically when you go for an organization, we have a enterprise governance, then we have a IT governance below it, then we have a
Mhm.
enterprise risk management, then we have security
Okay.
controls. Like the same way we have it, we want to make sure that we are able to add the cloud security perspective or cloud level perspectives also as a part of it. As a part of our enterprise governance process, we should make sure that cloud is also an integral part of it. And also we have to make sure as a part of our enterprise risk management, we are adding that cloud as well as a part of that key particular journey. Also, when talking about information security or data security or application security, identity and access management, for all these stuff, we want to make sure that cloud is also or we are considering this cloud element as well, because
Okay.
again when you go to the cloud platform, a lot of things change and a lot of things are moving from the legacy way of doing it. So obviously we need to make sure that the cloud level elements are properly addressed as a part of it. That's the reason why we should always have a proper understanding about the advanced cloud security governance. See, it's
Okay.
not something separate from the corporate governance, it's as part of it only, but again we have to make sure it's properly addressed. That's it.
Okay. That's really interesting. I mean, it's very crisp to understand. But so it's just not about architecting or putting a cloud architecture situation, but more wider aspects in line with business, right?
Yeah, the reason I just want to add a point here is that when you talk about the business, the reason why we are having a governance in a business is to make sure that the whatever happening in the business is aligned with the business mission and vision, is
Mhm.
aligned with the business goals. Like for example, let's say if I work as a part of an organization called as infosec train
Okay.
have a lot of people, like we have a technical team, we have a training team, we have a consulting team, we have a sales
Okay.
team, we have a so whatever these guys do in the particular process, we want to
Mhm.
make sure that all those things are properly aligned with a particular goal, a particular
Okay.
business requirement, and to meet the business stakeholder needs. And that's why
Okay.
we have a governance. The same thing when coming to the cloud platform, why we go to cloud, there should be a reason why the business goes to cloud. That question mark is what we are going to address in this advanced cloud security governance actually.
That's wonderful. One thing I wanted to say for a simple language, if somebody wanted to be just explain one side a primitive old cloud practices and other side the new advanced cloud governance practice in any simple language, can you just tell with an example that how they are different?
So basically, when talking about the legacy things, like in legacy, if I talk about,
Okay.
let me give an example. So we have so like the same way in legacy, we have a identity and access management or
Correct.
data security and all these things. The same thing is there in cloud as well. It's the
Okay.
the level that changes, the responsibility that changes and all. So if you talk about the pillars of a cloud governance, if you ask me, it's obviously the identity and access management, data security, infra protection, application security, incident response, threat detection and response, GRC, the governance risk and compliance,
Exactly.
security postal management, like that. But when it comes to the cloud platform, all these things have a different way of doing it. For example, let's say if you go to the on-premises, you are the provider, you are the consumer. So that means you have your own data center, your own infrastructure for your company. But if you go to a cloud
Exactly.
platform, there is a third party who is a cloud service provider who is building or managing that infrastructure for you. So at that time, there comes a something called as a shared security responsibility model. So we should
Hmm.
have a clarity on who is performing what activities. Like for example, if I take an example of data security, who is responsible for taking care of my data security in the cloud platform? If something
Hmm.
goes wrong, who is accountable for that? Is it your business or is it the cloud service provider? Who will take care of the protection part? Who will put the encryption, access control, data classification, monitoring? So all these things should be having a proper a demarcation point when talking about responsibility model. That's why I'm saying whenever we talk about GRC start from the top level, defining the proper policy specific to the cloud platform, then making the proper procedures, standards and guidelines, then implementing the or doing a proper risk assessment, implementing the
Exactly.
proper identity and access management to it, data security, like application
Hmm.
security, all these components we have discussed. But it's not just about putting all these things together, it's about
Hmm.
putting these things in the right way, supporting the business. That's a goal primarily.
Correct, correct, exactly. It's just not giving the entire work in the hand of specific people, but it also to just perform in a very prioritized way and in a processed way, so that things comes out in a very synergic form. That they should not look in a very haphazard
Exactly.
form. Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, I want to add one more example for a part of it. Let's suppose that you are an organization. Let's say you are a hospital. You run a hospital
Okay.
which
Okay.
store the data of like people, like they have a healthcare
Correct.
data. We call it as PHI, personal
Correct.
healthcare information. This hospital is storing their patients' data on some kind of a application, maybe some kind of a
Hmm.
hospital management application hosted in a
Mhm.
cloud service provider.
Okay.
So tomorrow, if the cloud service provider get compromised, your patients or the authorities like HIPAA or maybe the entities won't go to the provider. You are the one who is accountable there, right? So that means that
Correct.
we should have a proper metrics that define who is responsible for these actions, who is accountable for it, how we have to make sure this can be properly implemented step by step. Because business needs visibility, and we need to make sure that that can grow as per the business requirements. That's a goal like that.
Hmm. That's very fine. That I get a very simple example of this. If I'm traveling with a car and I'm a driver, and if I'm at an accident, the police will come and catch me that you made an
Obvious.
accident instead of calling to the provider who has given me the car to drive.
Obvious, yeah,
Right.
exactly, exactly.
That's wonderful. That's very nice. So after this, let's understand about some key components, Krish. I mean, let's talk about some key components which are very important in terms of cloud security governance. When it comes to governance, what are the pillars that should be prioritized? I mean, there is always things which get prioritized and the other things that follow on for advanced cloud security. So I would want to understand that when it comes to governance, what are the setups do you think is really important to be get prioritized in terms of making entire team, or you can say a system which is required to be get done?
Okay, so when talking about the advanced cloud security governance, when talking about cloud governance, when talk about the pillars, there's a lot actually. So I will give you
Okay.
some examples of it. First of all, obviously, when you go for cloud platform, it's a GRC only. Obviously, the GRC because the way you, if you want to put a security control, if you want to do a monitoring, if you want to do a auditing or assessment or compliance or anything, is based on that GRC component, governance, risk,
Hmm.
and compliance factor first. So GRC
Okay.
comes as a very important component. Then we have a identity and access management because when you go to the cloud platform, in fact you are adding some
Right.
more risk into the identity perspective. So in that level, IAM comes as a second pillar of the or second most important factor we have to keep in mind in terms of the cloud
Okay.
perspective. Third is the data security, obviously, because you're storing data in some other third party's premises.
Hmm.
See, we just say the word called as cloud as a fancy term, like just a marketing terminology is what we call as cloud. At the end of the day,
Correct.
it's just another data center. So something goes
Correct.
wrong here, it can go wrong there as well. So
Correct.
again, putting a proper infrastructure there, building a proper, how to have a proper infrastructure protection, how to have a proper application security, threat detection and response, then
Okay.
cloud security posture management, shared security responsibility model. All these things comes as a part of the cloud level, governance, if you talk about.
Hmm. That sounds interesting. But among all of this, there's one thing which is very common, which you really understand day to day, that with IAM, we are not just talking about passwords, right? I guess if I'm not wrong, we are also looking for the zero trust model, proper authentication method, or managing the permissions.
Exactly. So when talking about identity and access management, the legacy ways, the traditional ways of just thinking about
Yeah.
putting a password or just MFAs, etc., changed now, because
Correct.
we want to make. We are now facing some advanced threats, including
Hmm.
we have this deep fakes. AI-based deep fakes is there. We have a lot of easy automated security breach methods are there. So because of all these things, we should make sure that we need to find more advanced controls to meet this, integrate the zero trust methodology or zero trust access methodologies effectively into the cloud level, make sure we have a proper security auditing of the identity access management accounts, all these things. But in fact,
Hmm.
one more thing is more specifically I want to focus is that whatever controls you're putting, it should basically make the proper security, but it also should make sure that the customers don't get impacted, because like I am putting some thousand security controls there, and as a user you'll try to log in, you are facing some thousand issues or thousand security controls in front of you, and you start complaining that you don't have that user experience. So security
Correct.
should not affect the usability and performance. We should have a balance of all these things there.
Exactly. Needs to be
Exactly.
smoothly run in such a way that people should not feel annoyed when they are logging into the system or trying to access the data which is really kept in the cloud.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fine. You just mentioned about deepfake and AI. So after this, one thing comes into my mind also to understand about the cutting edge technologies and trend in cloud security. I mean, now if you just see all around, there's a buzz of AI, machine learnings, and all about new
Everywhere,
things.
yeah.
So now let us move to understand. We have seen major advancement in terms of technology related in cloud governance in recent days. All the publications and the news has been rolled out. What's the role of AI and machine learning, or an automation plays an important role in terms of setting up these new technologies with cloud governance?
Okay, so I want to give that in two levels. One is
Okay,
something for a question you have not asked actually, but I just want to explain this here. Plus, second is I will definitely answer your question on that. First thing is, like when it comes to the cloud computing, that I get a lot of LinkedIn chats where say, Krish, shall I? So I'm a cloud security engineer. I'm a,
yeah,
security architect. So shall I learn AI for my future? So shall I
okay,
basically move into AI? So shall I have? Do I have to switch in from cloud to AI? Like this you will
yeah,
get a lot of things like that. So what I tell them is that those AI things you tell me, like AI, machine learning, IoT, and all these kinds of things you're telling me, all these things are now relying on cloud computing as a platform for hosting all these things.
okay,
Okay, so for example, let's say saying that now you want to build an AI model. So if you want to build an AI model and if you want to manage a massive amount of data, when building models, that comes data as a part of it. So if you
correct,
want to manage that kind of data and if you want to have that level of processing and analysis capabilities, you need a massive underlying infrastructure. If you plan to have
exactly,
it on premises, that makes it more mess up complete. So what we do is that cloud act as a better playground for AI nowadays. That's the reason why if you see almost every AI models, they're on top of cloud platform. That's the first thing.
exactly, okay,
And coming to the question you asked, basically what roles does AI, machine learning, etc., play in the cloud computing? Obviously, yes, because the way that, see, I don't want to talk about only in cloud perspective here. When talking about generic security and cloud both, so talking about having a proper, like detecting anomalies, like for example, let's say you have a DLP solution, you have a SIM solution, you have a monitoring tools or anything like
correct,
that. So by integrating this AI efficiently, help us to make sure that we are able to find anomalies more effectively by analyzing huge amount of data actually, which is
okay,
not possible with a human intervention manually. But again, AI can basically help us to analyze a massive amount of data, identify some suspected unusual behavior. So those kind of anomalies can be easily figured out. Plus, basically, threat hunting can be more easily when you basically go for AI powered tools, identifying the security posture, predict the future trends, like this is the
That's
average amount
important.
of attacks we had. Yeah, in fact. And incident response automation, in fact, when you basically go for organization, one major concern is basically a incident response process we are having. So having a
Okay.
proper incident response automation plays a very important role. And more effectively, cost optimization. Now when you say
Oh,
you're going to the cloud platform, you have thousands of servers, you're creating databases, machine learning models and all. So if you don't have a visibility, GRC also concerned about cost. If you don't
okay.
have a visibility over those kind of factors, that can be a challenge. So instead
Hmm.
of manually going to it and analyzing all those things, this AI things can help you to basically identify your cost, the pain point on that, how to basically fix it. That can make the process more smooth and make your decision making process more efficient for any of these tasks mentioned. Like if you go to see at the end of the day, if you go to any kind of security tool, like a firewall, like a web application firewalls, cloud security posture management tool, incident response tool, vulnerability assessment tool, DLP tool, SIM tool, let it be anything. So all these tools now integrate AI so that the process can be more done in a more efficient and more
Right.
streamlined manner with minimal intervention and maximum efficiency. That's why,
Right.
like that.
So as far as I believe, we cannot say that a lot of differences are going to come into the advanced cloud security governance because of these technologies. Why? Because these technologies basically need advanced cloud security governance to run up their analogy and their algorithms, and to run the data, to store the data, to analyze the data. But
So
also we
actually
just wanted,
work together.
yeah,
They work together.
yeah,
That's the point. That's the point. Sorry to interrupt, but
okay,
again, that basically because these models work on cloud, or
cloud,
these kind of things
correct.
work on cloud, so that cloud can make a better playground for them. And this at the same time helps the cloud to basically evolve in a more better, more a safer ecosystem we are having, to basically make a proper secure and more efficient system for us, to make our job easier and efficient, like that. Instead of writing
Hmm,
some million lines of code and worrying about that, we can basically rely on AI model, so make our life more
correct,
easier, like that.
correct.
Yeah.
It's yeah, they both are working together in a two-way loop. That's nice thing to understand when somebody is looking to just analyze the automation. But comes the one thing comes in mind with regarding to automation. When it comes to automation, is it more focused on completing all the work by reporting compliances, or does it really go beyond that? I mean, just wanted to understand, is it mostly focused on compliance, or it really
Never,
works?
never, never. See, compliance is just a small part of it. Basically, when talking about the this kind of cloud and automation and all these things, compliance
Okay,
reporting is just one part of it. In fact, it basically have 1,000 more things we can do, like including adding more effective anomaly detection, making a more better, precise precision based application models. It have a lot of thousand things more than that. Automation is just one part of it, which can basically also, compliance reporting is just one part of it, which can help us to basically have a visibility. But more than that, like automating our process for incident response, responding to certain threats you are facing, like that. For example, now by the time you identify a threat and you go to respond to that threat manually, it have
okay.
given you a lot of pain. But if you go for a automation technology, especially with AI integrated, that makes your life more easier, and this will be completed with minimal pain and effort, like that.
Hmm. That's really sounds interesting because a lot of junk or a lot of the manual tasks which people are were involved to identify the issues, or the you can say the loophole or the caveat they were having in the work. Now these tasks get easily solved by the AI, because as you mentioned earlier, the most important thing was repetitive tasks. If one
Hmm.
manually, if you're doing the same task day by day or regularly, it really impacts your time. But it's, these times are getting saved. It makes us you to focus on more developing other contribution part.
Yeah, see, in fact, just one, I want to add one more point as a part of it actually. When
Yeah.
talking about AI is not about just automating a regular task. That's
Okay.
one point I want to add here, because that's a common thing which always people think. Because let's say, for example, we have a task which is there. By writing a script, we can automate that. But what we want is that we have something called as a natural intelligence. We have a human intelligence is there. We can
Correct.
basically make that human intelligence to a machine. That means
Okay.
without being explicitly programmed by a person to a machine, the machine can identify the patterns, and based on that, it can make a decision tree. It can make a proper pattern, like we do. We make a decisions for every day to day activity we're doing. So
That's
That
fine.
helps us in identifying security threats. In fact, more easily, when talking about something called as zero-day vulnerabilities, we have something called as a zero-day vulnerabilities, which is just
Mhm.
released and we don't have a patch available there. So for those kind of stuff, especially this AI can do magic actually for that.
Oh, that sounds interesting. But
Yeah.
although any technology comes out, you mentioned about the human element. I mean, it's very important that humans should absorb it, they adopt the process, how they implement, what trainings really required. So let's talk about some human element in the training and governance
Yeah.
culture, really, because we have covered a lot of technical aspects till now, which is really understanding. But let's talk about human side of governance as well. How can an organization foster a culture for security governance when it is required to implement such things?
Okay, again, here also I just want to add one more very interesting point, because I see this as a part of multiple discussions nowadays. See, when
Definitely.
AI comes, will AI replace the humans actually? That's a
Okay,
common
yeah.
question, right? See, at the end of the day, humans are there in every aspect for sure. At the end of the day, we
Okay,
are there in every aspect, either if it's
right,
AI or anything. Like when Excel came in the market, people told everyone that okay, Excel is there in the market now. The all the accounting jobs are gone, and you know what
correct,
happens now, right? Like the same way, see, now people learned how to utilize Excel for their ease of task. Like the same
exactly,
way, when AI is there in the market, so for AI or for GRC, for every aspect, humans are the primary entity, and we build all these technologies for our convenience and our goodwill in the future, right? So obviously this
very
technology is
true.
never going to go rule us until unless we don't know how to use it effectively. That's it. And coming to the key aspect, what is the role of human side of governance? So how can your organization foster a proper culture for security and governance?
Mhm. Yeah,
Obviously, first thing, but less talk thing is called as leadership buy-in. Like, get
right,
your management support. At the end of the day, I want to implement something in my company. We need to go for
okay,
always a top-down approach. There, I
right,
need to make sure that whatever I plan, I'm saying, okay, let's go to cloud, let's go to use AI, let's use some new
exactly,
technologies, whatever it is. At the end of the day, if my management is not giving money for that, my management is not giving any buy-in for that, then how do I make it possible? Because at the end of the
exactly,
day, yeah, we work for the business, right? Obviously, for our organization we work, and basically we have an agenda, we have a mission and vision. So tomorrow I am saying that I completed my football lessons, and you give me
right,
a salary hike for that. You will tell me, no, Krish, that is not a reason why you have to give me a salary, right? Why?
exactly,
Because
correct,
that is not supporting the business. That is supporting
right,
Krish, but that is not supporting the business, right? So what
exactly.
we need is that we need to basically make sure whatever we are doing is supporting the business, and we should
Hmm.
get a leadership support for that. The management should give us a approval for that, because whatever we are doing, it's for the business. So that's the most important thing. Getting your management understand the requirements and make them, or and basically they should give you a proper approval, a go ahead for that. That's a very important thing. The second thing is that obviously, security awareness training. See, when it comes to security awareness training, like do I, like, Krish, I'm just a junior developer here in this company, or maybe I'm just a tester in this company. I'm an HR guy
Okay,
in this company. I'm a manager in this company. I'm a CEO in this company. Should I learn security? Should I learn about? Should I have a security awareness? It's very important that each and every employee of an organization should have a security knowledge. So there are security incidents where the person who is cleaning a data center long back, I don't want to say the name of the company, but there is a data center where one of the cleaning person there, that guy was like,
okay,
the cleaning the floor, and because he made the single mistake, uh, lost them almost like around $1 million actually at that time, some 15, 20
okay,
years back actually. So security awareness training is not only about money, it's about, if you want to make that process run smoothly and efficiently, you should have a security knowledge. For example, let's say if you are a CEO of the company, if you're not aware of the security concerns in this company, then how do you approve the funds? How do you basically say that, okay, we'll go
exactly,
ahead for this new technology? We can't sit in the same table for this next 100 years, right? Second thing is that, let's say you are a HR person. So if you want to recruit more human resources, if you want to basically, align more people as a part of the business, then you should know what exactly your business needs, and for that you should have a security training. You are a developer, you need to develop application for your company, and these applications are going to be hosted on cloud computing. So let's say if your developers are not aware of the secure coding practices, or the secure SDLC, or the DevSecOps and all, how do they basically ensure that that can happen? So security training and awareness is a very important concept. Second, so first is leadership buy-in, second is security awareness training, the third one is obviously open communication. That means
okay,
that Indeed, that's the goal of agile. If you like, that's the goal of this agile and all scrum and all these things coming in the market, right?
Correct.
Because
Exactly.
make it communicate, talk to each other, discuss, provide ideas, right? That's a very important thing. And again, continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is a very important thing. So today I adopted technology for my company, and after
Okay.
some few years I identified that we have some better things than this. We should move,
Okay.
actually. I will give an example of Amazon Prime. I like this very much. I tell this in almost every sessions I do. See, Amazon Prime was using a technology called as serverless for a long time. Serverless. Okay.
Okay.
Like in AWS, we have Lambda, even with
Okay.
Azure, we have this functions, and also we have a technology called as serverless computing.
Serverless. Okay.
So actually, the reason why people go for the technology is that cost effectiveness primarily.
Okay.
Even though we have multiple other benefits, the reason is so cost effectiveness. Just at a particular point of time, they have realized that if they move from this serverless technology to containerization, they can save up to 80% cost.
Okay. That's
Okay,
huge.
that means they were I'm not saying containers are cheaper and that is costlier. For their aspect, for their use case, it was like that. So that continues. If okay, like if that guys who identified it, if they have not planned for this moving from that servers to containers, again the business
Exactly.
would have to pay 80% more money, right? Obviously, that's a very important thing. And last thing, recognize employees. We
Uh,
should appreciate people. That's a very important thing. All these things are very important in terms of governance, security, and everything. In fact, every small thing counts. That's why I'm saying like that.
I mean, the recognition is the least we should always be considerate because that's how we keep us people motivated to come up and say about things what they really wanted to share with us, and then only they
Exactly.
feel like that the values are getting listened
Ideas,
by
right?
everyone. Yeah,
Huh,
exactly.
yeah.
That sounds interesting. And
Perfect.
one thing you mentioned that has struck me mind in a very strong way that supports business. If your inputs, in such a way that you're upgrading yourself or you're implementing something, it supports your business. Your approach is going to be acknowledged by everybody. But also, what comes into mind that how do you see the role of leadership in this? Then,
See, leadership is basically the one who drives business, right? So
okay,
when you talk, we have a business. From there, we have different levels of employees and who work as a part of the
Mhm.
business. And when it comes to leadership, now the reason why leadership is there to accomplish a goal. They need to basically accomplish a
Okay,
goal. Like for example, if I run a small organization, I run a small business by myself. So I am the CEO, CTO, manager, everyone. But as the business grows, like 10 employees, 100,000, millions of employees, why? Because I need to basically make sure my business works as expected, right? To support my goal. So the leadership should be aware of every aspect happening in the business. The leadership should be
okay,
aware of what is basically happening, whether moving to cloud, what challenges we are facing. So until unless they are aware of it, there is no way they can basically give us approval for things, right? So one is getting their approval. So making them aware of this helps you to basically bring more value to your job or value to your activities you're performing, which will thereby improve the business. So leadership is a very important thing you can't avoid when talking about any aspect in security or cloud or anything like this.
That's interesting. They are the beacon which really gives light, which really gives
Obviously,
direction to the people. Yeah,
yeah, because
that's
moment I get an idea, after having it a proper clarity and after discussing it with the team members and all, maybe like sometimes we have to go for a bottom up approach. That means where we have to, like, for example, I'm a technical guy, I got a new idea, I have to discuss with the manager. Then at the end of the day, I need to make sure that we should be able to present to the leadership role, and they will basically review it, and after the discussion, whether they will approve it or
that's
disapprove it
interesting.
based on the business, right? That's a very important point. Yeah.
Nice said. Okay, Krish, but then apart from this, sometimes it gets very easier for everyone to understand things or to relate things with it. So because something like that has happened with me or something like that has happened with someone else, because people are there who are working in this domain from a longer period of time, and there are people who wanted to come into this domain as well. So just in case when we have an experience of real life world case studies or real life actionable insights, it really helps us to learn about the particular same thing which we are looking for or to implement for
Mhm,
business. So
mhm.
let's round off with some real world example or the case studies. You can share any example of business that has successfully implemented advanced cloud security. I mean, anything if you wanted to showcase from your end.
Okay, that's 1,000 actually. That's thousands of things are there in the market. Because
Okay.
if you see, if you want to see the easiest thing, go for some vendors website like AWS, Azure, etc. If you go to the websites, you will see the different use cases on how they become succeeded in the cloud.
But
But I'll
last
give you some
time, yeah,
examples.
but last time when we discussed, you said that you're going to give us some real life example which are going to be very common to every day-to-day users we are actually having.
Indeed, yeah. Like Netflix. Netflix is an example for
Exactly.
that.
That's
Because
interesting.
when you basically go for Netflix for a long time they are completely onto AWS, and
Okay.
they have invested a massive amount of money and effort in the security and compliance. I'll give an example because they are handling very sensitive data. Whatever they are handling is their intellectual property. So if there is anyone who is able to sneak into it or compromise it, that means their business is gone. So they have implemented very strong access controls, encryption, DLP measures to protect the data and this intellectual property. Also, they basically have a regular security awareness training for their employees. So they have invested a huge money on all this stuff because again, they handle with a lot of data. That's one thing. Then we have the Salesforce, like they are the one who provide the CRM softwares. Like
Correct.
they also have a lot of certificate like SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, ISO certifications, FedRAMP. Like they do a lot of stuff like this because again they want to showcase this to the customers like that. And last one is the Capital One, because with the moment I say Capital One, most people remember this Capital One breach happened long back. See,
Hmm.
after the breach, definitely the breach is basically can happen because at the end of the day, we can't make anything 100% secure. Maybe one small mistake
Exactly.
can make the whole ship sink. But what happens? Capital One, after, because they are the pioneer in cloud adoption, because they are in cloud for a quite long time, and even though they have faced some security challenges in the past, they have invested heavily on data security, threat intelligence, automation, and all these things to make
Okay.
sure they are protecting the customer's financial data and making sure that it comply with the proper regulatory requirements and all. In fact, if you see, there are thousands of use cases all like this. Because even as a cloud enterprise architect, I supported almost like 60 plus businesses over the time till now. And in my
Right.
experience, also, I have seen that many businesses have implemented this step by step governance model, but it's not in a single day. Like not don't feel like, okay, Krish, can we do it in a single day, or like in a week can we do it? No, it's a step by step process. We call it as a maturity process. So I will
Hmm.
start with this, then I'll go to this, then I'll go to this. Like that's how we build the maturity. Let's say, for example, you work as a manager in a company. Do you try to
Okay.
implement everything all of a one day? No, you start doing the basic things first. You start fixing things from the level, right? Like the same way. That's how the cloud security or GRC everything works. It's a step by step process.
That sounds really interesting. But there is one, you can say, out of the box things came in my mind while understanding about the things from you, how really cloud stores the data, and then how it really filters and help us to re-understand the data. In this analogy, if I am a user, I'm keeping my password regularly saved on password managers, which I usually keep the data stored, I guess, on cloud only. Let's say I'm talking to logging from the Google and my password are getting set in Google password manager. So don't
Hmm.
you think in future when a large amount of such confidential data are getting saved in cloud, later you mentioned that these are getting processed by AI. So post thereon, do you think that AI can help us to predict the passwords and predicts the combinations of because it already had a lot of data there to just give an idea what could be some common password, what could be some common
Okay.
approach?
See, actually, like, why do you want AI to do that? Because it's already happening without AI itself. See, now I'll
Exactly.
tell you. A few minutes back, you asked me a question regarding human side of governance.
Yeah.
Humans are the strongest and the weakest side of the business.
Okay, that's true.
That may be a weird statement, but again, humans are the
Yeah.
strongest
But
and the
no offense,
weakest.
that's true.
Now when talking about the security threats in a organization, social engineering is the most common threat. Can you patch a person very easily? No, right? You can't patch a
Right.
person, you can't patch a computer, but you can patch a person, right? So it takes a lot of time. So because
Mm,
when it comes to the like, for example, now you said that your employees are storing data on this Google Chrome or maybe some browser or some kind of things like that, so that they can make it convenience. At the same time, what they are not aware of, what level of risk they are introducing there. So that's
exactly.
the reason we should have a proper security training there to make sure that how they should keep their passwords, why, what is the criticality or importance of changing it on a particular regular basis, how they have to how to identify something as a phishing attack, how to identify things can go wrong for the business. Like that's the reason why training and awareness is a most and key component when talking about a business, for sure. Yeah, indeed.
Exactly. That's really impressive. I mean, for our listeners also, this will give a basic idea for actionable tips to understand. One thing, can you give to understand, Krish, that what are some actionable tips to start implementing advanced cloud security in our environment?
See, if you want to have a proper governance, like advanced cloud security governance or governance generically, first of all, understand your business requirements clearly. That's the first thing. You should always understand the business requirements clearly. That's the most important thing. Then,
Okay.
based on that, make a proper plan, like make a proper procedures, policies, guidelines, statements, and all the kind of things like that. Based on that, make sure that you also have a risk assessment process in there in company to
Hmm.
make sure you're able to have a visibility of what is happening. Implement proper controls in every aspect. Ensure that you're continuously monitoring it and updating it as per the changing requirements. So all these things are most important when talking about the governance or any aspect.
That's interesting. I hope this really makes sense to our viewers who are actually listening about this and understanding about the advanced cloud governance, its applications, how human intervention is required, why the training is required, why the governance plays a very important role in advanced cloud security governance. Apart from that, we have also understand some basic learnings and case studies, how things have actually happened in past and what new things can be implemented. Along with this, how AI and machine learnings are correlating with each other in terms of cloud governance. It's just not one side of it, it's working together. I mean, these are very key insights. Even in just a short discussion with you, Krish, I also got to know, and I mean that's very interesting. If anything you wanted to add from your own way, your own point of view, your own experience in terms of advanced cloud governance environment, it'll be very nice to us, and then we can wrap.
So, actually, like this is again, we have discussed almost everything, like, the most
Yeah.
interesting things we have discussed. But make sure that whenever we are coming into any of these journeys like that, we should make sure that we learn it thoroughly. Like, it's not like just trying to
Okay.
implement things all of a sudden. We should learn it proper way. We should educate our employees properly. And like, not only cloud, when you're moving
Hmm.
to any technology, we should make sure that we understand the pros and cons of it, and we should be able to balance that as per the business goals, and we should be able to
Yeah.
go for it. So tomorrow, like, your company is going to cloud or maybe any other technology, let it be AI or whatever it is, but if it's feasible for your business, then go for it. Otherwise, no, like that, it's always business
Absolutely,
comes first. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely true, Krish. And thank you, Krish. I mean, Krish, this has been a very highly informative discussion, I must say. It's for Chris, but has everything we can looking for advanced cloud governance to everyone who are actually going to have basic idea about this in terms of any domain they are or at any age they are. It really gives. I mean, you have always been so simple to make things understand to us. It was very nice. Thank you so much for sharing your insight in that way exactly.
Thanks
Uh,
a lot, Anders, for inviting me
yeah,
as
thank
well.
you so much, Krish. Apart from this, Krish, I got to know that after cloud governance, there is one more thing we really looking for future. The people are actually talking about is cloud security for enterprises. I hope we will catch you soon again for our
Definitely.
upcoming episodes
For
for
sure,
that.
for sure.
Definitely, this
Yeah,
is
that's
a
that's
teaser to our
interesting.
learners that we will be talking about cloud security enterprises also in coming episode with Krish and to our learner. Absolutely nice having word with you, Chris, today. It was very wonderful. Thank you. I really
Yes,
enjoyed to
team.
having a word with you today. It was
Perfect.
same altogether. To all our learners, stay secured, stay safe with us, and keep learning. As mentioned by Krish only, we may going to come with another episode of cloud security for the enterprises, where we will understand about how the enterprises really have to look for the cloud and its implications. Thank you,
Perfect.
Krish. Thank you so much for
Thanks
giving
a lot.
valuable time.